I think it's incredibly racist to cut out blackface.
I'm Thomas Wrinklesmooth, and after one of my YouTube videos in which I claimed the Bluetooth attracts bees was blocked for misinformation, I started this investigation into censorship and cancel culture. On today's episode, blackface. Is it acceptable on TV? I find out by talking to a white man.
We all have a laugh, a joke with a bloke, a chuckle with a couple, a snigger, without using racial slurs. Classic sitcom Fawlty Towers was recently temporarily removed from UK TV Play for its inclusion of the N-word. This infuriated show creator John Cleese, despite him having agreed to it several years earlier before people were making headlines for being cancelled. You know, I very much doubt you'd be able to make Fawlty Towers today. In fact, you couldn't make anything. Absolutely fabulous.
Citizen Khan. The Office. The Weakest Link. Airplane. The Office. US. The Hangover films. Only Fools and Horses. The In-Betweeners.
You could not get away with any of those shows today. The woke mob would not allow it. And if you do want to catch any of those programs, they're currently all available on streaming services, and some even have new episodes coming out soon. But as I said, you couldn't get away with it today. But it's not just the odd N-word being removed from classic comedies. Netflix recently removed any episodes featuring blackface. So, joining me now to explain their actions, Netflix employee Peter Plank.
Hi. So, blackface is when a white actor makes themselves up to look like a person of colour.
A classic example would be Spike Milligan's Kevin O'Grady from Curry and Chips, which really was a very funny sitcom.
Yeah, well, it dates back to when black people were slaves and was essentially used to mock them in an incredibly racist way. It was, people in power pointing and laughing at their servants. So using the same technique today is an incredibly offensive reminder of our country's racist past.
Yeah, he'd wear this funny little turban and a very amusing Indian accent, wobbling his head around. Yeah, I must find the DVD. But I've got to say, I've had a look at some of the examples of shows that have been removed. I'm talking about The Peep Show, It's Sunny Again in Philadelphia, and in a lot of those examples, blackface seemed to be being used in a sort of clever, satirical way, usually to make a point about how unacceptable it is. Now, I think that is probably the worst way you can use blackface, because that's essentially cultural appropriation. They're taking the blackface art form, a good old-fashioned Western tradition, and exploiting it for their own ends, deliberately making a mockery of it. That's going to leave a lot of white people confused and angry, and that anger will almost certainly be directed towards the ethnics.
Well, regardless of the context, we just don't want to see it. We make no distinction between an actor blacking up or a character doing it to scrutinise racism, because people get confused. When our viewers watch a film, they assume that everything that every character does in them is an endorsement of that activity.
Well, I'm with you on that. I don't think that satire has any value whatsoever. But let me just try and get my head around what your censorship policy is here, because it seems like a lot of questionable stuff has not been removed.
Such as?
13 Reasons Why, glorifying suicide.
Yeah, that's fine.
365 Days glamorizing rape culture.
Not a problem.
Goop Lab claiming that sun cream is dangerous and essentially being a 6-hour advert for Gwyneth Paltrow's Crystal Healing Centre.
We're not actually allowed to fact-check Gwyneth Paltrow because it gives her a negative aura.
The Winx Club adaptation casting all the BAME characters with white actors.
We did that to avoid using blackface.
And there's also all of this.
My mother remarried to an Indian guy. Like a fucking... Like... Indian guy, man!
So what is your expectation for your life partner?
Not too dark, like fair skin.
Like diarrhea, not cowboy, Indian.
This is Apache land! And what you gonna do about it, beaver breath?
Oh, you know my name.
That's really her name!
Temple of Doom, not Dances with Wolves.
Every year the Ericksons get Team USA and we get some terrible country.
7-Eleven, not 9/11. Indian.
You don't get it.
You are closer to white than I'll ever be.
Together, we make a whole white person.
Your favorite food is cheeseburgers, and I know more Mandarin than you do. You're barely even Asian.
That is one sweet hog right there.
That is a sweet, majestic hog.
Yeah, that's a sweet one for sure.
It's all right. Sorry, I'm not Chinese enough for you, but I've never seen you pound back jerk chicken. Last time I checked, Brody twerks better than you. And I liked your poem, but your bars could use a little more work, homie. So really, how black are you then?
When people talk about the Holocaust, they talk about the tragedy and horror of 6 million Jewish lives being lost to the Nazi war machine. But they never mention the thousands of gypsies that were killed by the Nazis. No one ever wants to talk about that because no one ever wants to talk about the positives.
I called that guy the Turbinator every day. There it is. There it is.
It's just a bit confusing that all of that is allowed when satire about racism isn't. It almost makes the blackface removal look like a sort of empty gesture that requires no actual thought.
Look. Let me explain. TV is a visual medium, so anything that looks racist is not allowed. So blackface gets removed regardless of context because it looks racist. But if you were to watch that compilation with the sound down, it wouldn't seem racist at all.
I suppose my problem with this whole thing is that in a lot of cases, blackface is just used for having a laugh. Having a laugh is not racist.
It is if you're laughing at black people.
Here's a picture of a white guy. Here's a man in blackface. Who are you more likely to cast?
Well, obviously the man not in blackface.
Well, that is racist. You're saying you can be on our platform if you're white, but if you look too black, we'll cut you out.
Yes, but he's not actually black.
I think it's incredibly racist to cut out blackface.
Well, I don't think you should really be discussing this from your position as a straight white man. I mean, you don't seem to understand at all the impact of...
You're also a straight white man, so perhaps it's you who should not be discussing this.
Well, yes, to be honest, I suppose you probably would be better off talking to a black person about this.
Well, yes, that would be ideal, actually, but I don't know any black people. Do you know any?
No.
The BBC have taken a strong stance against cancel culture by airing any opinion as long as enough people believe it. The director of editorial policy, David Jordan, claimed they'd happily feature the views of flat earthers if enough people believed the earth was flat. Gotta say, I don't have a lot of love for the BBC, but I think they've got it right here, so we're adopting a similar policy on the actual truth. If a lot of people believe something, we'll broadcast it. Here's a guy with a belief a lot of people share now.
My belief is that David Jordan owns a pair of very tight pink leather pants, which he wears every Sunday while he eats his roast dinner. He also has enormous swollen nipples because he's addicted to flicking them. And he shoots endangered squirrels for fun.
Quite a claim, and I do actually have some evidence it isn't true, but a lot of people believe it.
A lot of people believe it.
We'll broadcast it then. As I said, it isn't true, but it is a valid opinion. The thought's in your head now, and this guy believes it despite the evidence, so maybe you will too. Broadcast the lies and let the viewers make up their own minds. That's impartiality.
Hey, look, it's Twitter, a safe space for everyone and anyone, a forum for free speech. You'll notice all the bad people have been removed. Wow, a nuanced debate is taking place. Let's check it out. Like to start my mornings with a ice-cold bath. Helps me wake up, lol.
This is dangerous. People died from taking this unscientific advice. Please be careful what you say on here. Hashtag wellness scam.
It is no danger to be in a cold bath. Wellness not a scam. You dick, bro. Oh!
Seriously, do some research, dude. Just trying to help. Can send you some articles if you want.
Oh! He's not going to get many likes for that sort of comment.
Piss of mate. Not taking advice from bro with only 43 followers.
That's a strong repeat. He's getting much better engagement for that one.
At least I can spell, mate. Hope your ice bath makes your balls shrivel up. Hashtag more.
Whoa, he brought it back.
You profile pic, greasy gross. Maybe you should take a bath yourself for once, dirty.
We've lost sight of the topic, but it's a much better debate now. Look at the engagement.
Whatever, mate. Wellness is a scam and you're an idiot for falling for it. No!
Great interaction, guys. Great to hear some different opinions. But I like an ice bath myself now and then. I believe in wellness. And if you don't share my beliefs, you have no place in my realm.
User deleted.
Some people say that if you die in the astral realm, you die in real life. It's not true. Not yet. Hey, let's check out the rest of this wacky place. You could be a pink cat, you could be some toads, you could be a lamb rat chewing on electrodes. Oh, I see this post about the plandemic has caught your eye. It suggests that the COVID-19 pandemic was all a conspiracy. How interesting. Does that idea interest you? There are certain users who disagree with the theory, but don't worry, I won't suggest you talk to them. In fact, I'll make sure that they stay with their friends and you can stay with yours. You enjoyed reading about the plandemic, didn't you? Why not take a look down this tunnel? You'll find even more info about it, and meet new friends who share your interests. You're bound to love it down there. You might never want to leave. And you can be as noisy as you like, though there is a slight echo. You know, I wore blackface once. I had a fancy dress party. It was a long time ago, but I did it. I'd gone as Trevor McDonald. And a natural-born black man came up to me, and do you know what he said? He said, that is quite an offensive costume, actually. And I said, well, I didn't bring a change of clothes, and this makeup is very hard to remove. You know, it's waterproof, and I've had to apply very thick layers to get the tone right. And this white perm is going to look very odd out of context. And he said, it's fine, leave it on then. And those words stuck with me. And now, whenever I have to make a call about this whole blackface thing, I think about those words. The words of an actual black man. It's fine, leave it on. Maybe you could think about those words too.
Yeah. Can I go now?
Join me next time when you'll get to see things like this.
Yeah?
And this.
Be better.
And of course this.
Oh, Jesus.
And please do remember to like and subscribe, guys. Comment if you want, but not any stupid comments, alright? Only comment if you're praising this documentary about free speech. I don't want to see anyone disagreeing with me. I actually stand against silencing, thanks, so don't bother. Seriously, I will get those comments removed.